Christina and you're watching Proud Bookline. And today I'm going to do my wrap-up part 1 out of 2017. It's 2017 and life is crazy, and I'm sorry that this is very late. And I'm sorry that this is probably going to be very long because I've actually read some books. I know, big surprise. But I read 15 books, so let's get started. The first one I read this year, or rather finished this year, was, you probably can't read this, but this is actually All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. But it's the Swedish copy. I actually got this free from my school's library because my school's library has been chosen to be the best one, or one of the best in Sweden. It's about 2 persons, one boy and one girl. The girl is named Violet and the boy is named Theodore. And they have their own issues and things aren't going as smooth as they perhaps wanted in life, and they become friends. I don't really want to say anything more. I do want to say trigger warning: depression and suicide. I give it, I think, 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't my favorite and I felt like it was almost a romanticization of the illness. It felt more like a love story than a life story, if that makes sense, and I'm personally more interested in life stories. Next up, I read My Sister Rosa by Justine Larbelestier. I think she's Australian actually, and this book is about Taylor. He's 17 years old. He boxes, which is really cool. I love when characters have hobbies, like, yes please, we need more of that. It's actually more about his sister Rosa, even though we follow his point of view. And Rosa is a psychopath. At least that's what Shay has figured out. And it's up to Shay to keep her, well, from hurting anybody or anything else. It's so diverse. We have people from Asia. One of the characters, she's black and she has 2 mothers. One of them is in a wheelchair, and then we have talk about if she's a psychopath or not, which is really cool. We rarely see anything like that, especially in girls and especially in young girls. It's usually only the bad guys in movies that are described as psychopaths, so it was really cool. I think I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, or maybe 4.5 out of 5 stars. Up next, it was the Winter Biannual Bibliothon, and the group book was Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco, so I read that. It is a really cool book. It's kind of like historical fiction-ish, and it's about Audrey Rose and Jack the Ripper is going on about. And Audrey Rose, she actually is interested in forensics and she likes cutting up bodies on her spare time. That's what she does. And luckily she's allowed to do that, weirdly enough. And she's a badass feminist, which is amazing to read about. And it was a really fun book. It wasn't my favorite. I thought it dragged at some parts and some things were easy to predict, but otherwise I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. After that, I read Cuts by Patricia McCormick, and this is about self-harm, so if you want to read it, please know that it contains self. It is about this girl named Callie that cuts herself. Her book takes place when she's at this center called Sea Pines, and it's a lot of girls there that's struggling not only with self-harm, but we have a girl that suffers from binge eating disorder, and we have girls with substance abuse. And it's just about these girls, or mainly Callie then, because she's the main character, coming to terms with herself. And yeah, I absolutely fucking love this book. It's super short, so if you're interested, please pick it up, and if you're not triggered by any of the content, because it's amazing. It features therapy, which a lot of books do not feature. It takes place at a facility, like a treatment center, which not a lot of books do, especially not in YA. I think I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It maybe isn't, as you can see, the most deep and developed book, but it really describes everything, at least from my knowledge, very well. To me, it's a good depiction. It might not be as developed and as deep as I would have wanted it, but considering the length, it's a really good book. It's not own voices, but it's clear that the author has actually done her research and not just romanticized something together, which is really nice. Next up, I read Heartless by Marissa Meyer, which was the biannual Bibliothon Girls Book Club book some month. I don't know. It's kind of like a retelling, but not really, because we don't actually know what happened before the Red Queen became the Red Queen, and this is what the story is about. And if you don't know who the Red Queen is, it's the Red Queen in Alice. I think you know. It's about Kath. She wants to open up a bakery with her maid, and the king actually wants to marry her, so nope, that's not allowed. And yeah, we get to follow what happens to her, because there's this weird jester that arrives and just things happen. It's a good book, but I personally didn't enjoy it. I know a lot of people absolutely loved it, but for some reason I couldn't really get into it. I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. So I read Everything by Nicola June, and I just want to say that I know a lot of people have different opinions about this book, and I want to say that this is not a representation of allergies. I know a lot of people have issues with it, and I can totally see the issues. However, it's a good representation of what actually is the reason behind this bubble, but I won't try to spoil anymore. I like that the main character is biracial. I liked the lists in the book, and it's her husband that has done the artwork and stuff, so that's really cool. I love the writing. I flew through the book. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And I personally enjoyed this book. I can totally understand why it can be harmful and hurtful to others, but my experience of this book was great. Next up, I read the Booksplosion book of the month of January, which was Wayfarer by Alexandra Bracken, which is the second book out of the Passenger duology, and I really liked it. I liked it. I don't know if I liked it more than Passenger. I almost think so. I love the new character, Ni Sing. I don't know how to pronounce her name. And I love that we got to see her and Sophia, because, yeah, we need more sexualities shown openly in YA books. So, thank you. I'm pretty sure that they're lesbian, but they might be pan or bisexual or whatever. It's a female-female relationship. I really like that we got to see some Russian history, because if you don't know, the Passenger series is kind of like a scavenger hunt in history, because it's about time travels, and I studied Russian last year and I love history, so I loved seeing Nikolai II. Or in your, wait, now I said it in Swedish, Nicholas II? Is that right for you? Because in Sweden we call him Nikolai. It's complicated, these language barriers here. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. After that, I probably read one of my favorite books this year, which was This Song Will Save Your Life by Layla Sales, and I read it like in a day or two. It was super duper amazing. I think I stayed up to 4 a.m. finishing this book. Oops. It's not a mental health or mental illness book, but it's kind of clear that the main character is dealing with a lot of negative feelings. She's pretty much depressed, I would say, and she's struggling to know herself and struggling to find herself and find a purpose and find something that she likes, and she's just struggling a lot. And yeah, I loved it. Like, loved it. If you don't know what it's about this girl named Elise, and she starts this new school with the hopes that finally she's going to fit in and she's going to get the cool friends and just live this, you know, the life that we think we want to live and we have like seen in movies, etc. But her attempts fail at fitting in and things just aren't the greatest. She has these 2 friends in school, but they aren't really friends. It's rather the ones that she gets left with. And by the way, trigger warning for self-harm, and things aren't great for Elise, but suddenly there's these 2 girls when she's outside walking, and these 2 girls, they are outside a club and they invite her in, and she finds her new passion, which is DJing, which is lovely because I love when characters have hobbies and yeah, just things that they enjoy to do and they find happiness in doing, and she loves DJing and she gets into this new circle, and I just really really loved it. And I love that her parents are actually featured in this novel, and that her parents are divorced but still they talk together sometimes, and we get to see her going from dad's place to mom's place, etc. Like, the families aren't forgotten in this book, and that is something that I really appreciate to see, because we rarely get to see families in YA novels. So this was just the best contemporary ever, and I could relate a lot. Like, a lot. So if you have not read it yet, please do. I of course gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Up next, I read Edge of Everything, which was the Explosion book of the month of February, I think. It's by Jeff Giles, and it's kind of like a dystopian. I had my issues with this. It's about a girl that gets saved by this creature. She names him X, and he comes from this underworld. It's kind of complicated. The part that I did love was the dogs and her little brother, who has ADHD. I did not really like X and Zoe and their relationship. However, it was an okay book. I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Up next, I read a Swedish book called Prio 1, which kind of means like emergency number 1. I don't know. By Emily Shep. It's actually the 3rd in a series, but I thought it was the 2nd one, so I was very confused reading this. It's about Jaina Berzelius, and she's attorney, and she has a past, and things are complicated, and her mother actually passes away, and then there's this murder that kind of seems connected with her mother's murder, or is it a murder? We're not really sure, because it's said to be a heart attack, and yeah, things spiral out of control for poor Jaina. And at the same time, we have these murders that are going on that are really brutal, like body parts are cut off and people are left to die, which isn't that fun. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because I was confused reading it, but if you like crime novel, why not pick it up if it exists in your language, which is probably do not. I'm sorry. After that, I read Adam Silvera's 2nd book, History's All You Left Me, which is an amazing book. It's about Griffin, and his boyfriend Theo dies. Or rather, his ex-boyfriend Theo dies. Then he's forced to meet the boyfriend Theo was with before Theo died, because Griffin and Theo broke up. Theo got together with Jackson, and now Jackson and Griffin are forced to meet at the funeral, and they are forced to get along. And things are complicated already for poor Griffin. He has OCD, which I think is beautifully portrayed in this contemporary novel. I love when mental illness is displayed and portrayed and represented in a well-written way. This is an own voices book, as Adam himself suffers from OCD, and he is also gay. I, by the way, love. But it's a very beautifully written contemporary story about, well, both what happened before Theo died and what happens after Theo dies. Like, we get to hear both from the past and from the present, and we get to find out who Griffin truly is. And that, my friend, is a beautiful written and complex story. I love this book, and I actually cried a few tears, and I usually never cry, like, ever. So great job, Sadam. But if you have not read this book yet, what are you doing? Like, just pick it up. I of course gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and read it, please. Next up, I read Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone, and this might be my favorite book that I read so far this year. It's up there with This Song Will Save Your Life. This is about a girl named Sam or Samantha, and she actually also suffers from OCD, but she suffers from the compulsive thoughts or obsessional thoughts. I'm sorry if I'm getting the wrong terms here, but she has these thoughts of things that she doesn't want to do. She doesn't feel compelled to actually do them, but these thoughts occupy her mind and she can't control them. However, the only persons that know is her therapist named Sue, which I love. I love the therapy sessions between her and Sue, and I love Sue. And yes, because we need more books where therapy is a big part, and where therapy is represented well, and where therapy is seen as something normal. So yeah, because therapy is normal. It's something a lot of people go to and get help. It's nothing stranger than going to a doctor for a broken leg. Like, please. But yeah, Samantha hasn't told anybody, and her friend group is sorry, but they're kind of bitchy and they're not very kind to each other, and Samantha is starting to realize this, and she doesn't really feel like she fits in. I love that she has swimming. That's like her own thing, another character with a hobby, but suddenly one day she ends up in a place at her school where she's never been before, and this turns out to be a poet club or like poet's corner, and she meets this girl Carolyn and they become great friends, and Samantha, she really figures out who she is and what she likes and loves and enjoys to do, poetry among a few, and she develops new friendships, and I think she develops a new identity. She becomes who she wants to be, not somebody that she thinks she should be, which is so beautiful to read about, and I relate a lot, and it's just such an amazing book. If you haven't read it yet, please do. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It's a lovely contemporary, and this book also made me cry, like a lot. And I was outside. It wasn't pretty, but this book, please read it. Up next, I read Almost Anorexic by Jennifer G. Thomas and Jenny Schaefer. And this is, I guess, a mixture between a self-help book and like an informational book. I would consider it a self-help book, I guess. It's to find out if you or your loved one has not an eating disorder per se, but if they have problems regarding food and their body and how they see themselves, etc. It's pretty much to determine if your relationship with food is a problem, and if it is, where can you find help and how can you improve your situation. And I really love this book. It is really helpful. It has a lot of good charts and tests, and what I loved about it is that we get to read short stories from other persons and how they struggled, so you will find yourself probably in one of their stories and you will be able to relate, and it just really in a really great way breaks the myth that disordered eating behaviors or that eating disorders only affects white skinny girls, because in this book we get to hear stories from everything to mothers, and we get to hear from males in like their late 30s, we get to hear from people from different and diverse cultures, and we get to hear from people that struggle with food and their relationship with food and their body in different ways, whether they have a diagnosis on it or not. And I really enjoyed that because it was great. And we got to hear from a lot of different people. It explains things in a great way, and if you're interested in this topic, or if you're wondering if you yourself might struggle or somebody in your surrounding might struggle, this is a really great book to read and to get some knowledge, because usually you have a stereotypical like way of looking at things, like, okay, this girl looks like this, then she has an eating disorder. This girl looks like this, well then she doesn't have an eating disorder, etc. Or like, he eats so he can't have an eating disorder, etc, etc. There's so many myths, there's so many prejudices, and I could speak here about it for like an hour, but this book really busts a lot of those, and it's a great helpful book for everybody, I would say. If you're interested, pick it up. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. Next up, I read The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, and this is the Swedish copy. It's a dystopian, I guess, and it's about a girl that's clairvoyant, and it's kind of hard to explain. There's a lot of people with these gifts to connect with the other world, like speak with spirits, etc. It's hard to explain, but she gets taken to this other world, I would say, and this man takes ownership of her, like they become slaves, and it's a messy thing to try to explain. If you're interested in it, I would say read it. It's not really that good. I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I thought it was really hard to understand. I struggled a lot with the new terms and with their abilities, and I didn't really like the whole slave and lover thing, even though I thought it would be worse reading it. I thought that the main character Paige would be like more submissive, I guess, and that it would just be a mess. But I really like the fact that Paige stands up for herself and that she doesn't give up and that she isn't allowing anybody to treat her like shit. So kudos to Paige, but I didn't really like this book and I'm not going to continue with this series, I think. I mainly read it because it was a explosion book, and I'm not happier that I read it, but I'm not sad that I read it either. It was an okay book. If you're interested, you go ahead and pick it up. I know a lot of people love it, but then I also know a lot of people hate it, and I'm kind of in the middle, I guess. The last book I read was Little Bee by Chris Cleave. I have sticky notes in it because I read this for school. It's about a Nigerian girl named Little Bee, and she comes to Britain and she doesn't know where to go, so she goes to Sarah O'Rourke, or rather she wanted to go to Andrew O'Rourke, but he has committed suicide, so trigger warning for suicide. And yeah, it's a complicated story about what happened that caused Little Bee to come to Britain, and she and Sarah's pasts are intertwined, and it's a book a lot about culture and ethnicity because I read it for my sociology class, and there we're talking about ethnicity and how culture affects things, so that's why I read it. And I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did. I did not like the ending. I struggled with some parts, but overall it was a really great book. If you're interested in reading it, I would totally recommend it. I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars. The book that I'm currently reading is another Swedish crime book by Lars Kepler called, if I just translated, it would be The Rabbit Hunter, which I do not think sounds very good, but that is what the title would be. I'm not that far into it, and so far it's not really that great. However, the chapters are short, so I do enjoy that part. So yeah, those were all the books that I read in 2017 so far. I'm so sorry that this is super duper long. I still hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you've read some amazing books so far this year. Have the best day ever, and thank you guys so much for watching. Your support literally means the world to me. Have a great day /night /whatever pod is for you guys. Bye!